Hello, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Analyst for Digital Transformation and Mobility here at Cognizant, and I want to thank you for joining me today. Today, we get to talk to Julie Purves, who's on the other side of the Atlantic, and she's with a company called B2M Solutions. Julie, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kevin. Great pleasure to be here.
What a beautiful room you are sitting in. It looks like a laboratory. Where's that you're sitting in?
Well, this is actually part of our development center, so I'm in one of the rooms of the main development area. This is where our guys come and do a lot of their planning and their retrospectives and all of their general group work together. So it's quite a nice room, actually. The building, our office is
Are those grocery lists behind you on the wall?
No, they're things that have come out of some of their facilitated sessions. So this is where I'm actually sitting in the middle of an orchard. So our office is in a beautiful thatched building that's right in the middle of an orchard. So it's a lovely place to be.
Is it seriously? Does it have a thatched roof?
Yeah. The piece I'm in here now has a thatched roof. Yeah. So.
Oh, that is cool. I don't think I've ever spoken with the CEO of a software company that has an office in a thatched roof building. So that's really. Well, that's awesome. So what's the weather like in the UK right now?
Well, I'd say we're pretty typical at the moment. It's quite wet. Not too cold, so around 11, 12 degrees centigrade. So can't convert that to your Fahrenheit, I'm afraid.
Okay. I won't try, but it's going to be cold and wet. That's what my analysis suggests.
Yeah, no, pretty cool.
So thank you again for joining us today. This is part of my Mobile Expert interview series. So one of the first questions I'm required to ask is, what makes you a mobile expert?
Right, that's a good question. So I've been in mobility for about 15 years now. I started, yeah, that's quite a while. I started because I joined Intermec, I guess a company you may know.
The hardware company?
That's right, yeah. So I joined them as their European project director, and this was back in the late 90s. At that time, mobility actually was a little bit more advanced in Europe than the US because we had slightly more mature networks over here, and they had just won a big project with a company called Parcelforce, a parcel carrier, to build and deploy a mobile solution. So back in the late 90s, this was real bleeding edge stuff.
Absolutely. I imagine it was kind of blue-collar stuff as well?
Totally, yeah. So blue-collar, and we built the device, which was like a brick. It had voice on it, so these guys were walking around with this brick to their ear. And we were tasked with building out the whole system, the mobile side with the device, the mobile comms, and the application. Okay. And so I was project director. We had a fantastic team working on the project. 5,500 users, which at the time was the largest mobile project in the world.
Wow.
So it was a fantastic place to learn about mobility. And we deployed it very successfully. They actually saw something in the range of 20% improvement in their delivery and collection, so really good returns. But what I could see at that point, two things really. The first was that the whole mobile space was about to explode. So what had been quite a niche business with these industrial mobile providers like Intermec and Symbol at the time was really going to explode for all kinds of reasons around the networks, the number of device companies coming into the space, applications and so on. But more importantly, that if users were really going to get the value in the enterprise space, then they really needed the tools, firstly, to be able to manage those devices, but also to be able to understand how they were being used, how the applications were performing, to get insights into how the whole mobile processes were operating. So really a much more top-down view on what was going on, to get insights to enable you to maximize the value of your mobile solution.
Wow. So that was a huge educational curve, I imagine. Just from the ground up, saying what does it take to go from a paper-based to using these kind of mobile devices.
Exactly. And to move from a situation where, you know, you've got your workers out on the road, it's very difficult to know what kind of experience they're having. In the worst case, with a blue-collar worker, they'll come back at the end of the day and throw the device at you to tell you what they think about it. Right. But really to get proper feedback, particularly because in those environments, a number of users are not very strong IT literate users. They're using the device as a tool. So getting that kind of information to help gain that understanding was going to be absolutely crucial.
So was it that experience, Julie, that helped form the foundation of B2M Solutions?
Totally. So what happened was I actually had a really great team working with me at Intermec. A number of them came and joined me, and we founded B2M in 2002.
Okay.
And actually got our investment to start moving forward in 2004. So as you can see, and you know, back to your question about, you know, how can I call myself an expert? Well, you know, I certainly have learned a great deal because I was way too early to market. I mean, what I saw as the possibility, you know, I was 5, 6, 7 years too early. So we've been through.
I was there with you, Julie, about that much too early as well.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, it's quite an experience, yeah.
Oh yeah, so you're still here. I moved on from my roles back then. But so talk to me about B2M Solutions. Kind of what is the category that you guys define that you're in today? And yeah, so what market and what target category would you place yourself in today?
Right, so today, if you looked in terms of the traditional categories, there's not one that we fit. Where we are is actionable analytics. That's what we provide. So the traditional categories that have existed as the market's developed around, for example, mobile device management, we actually, you know, have components that fit into those categories. But actionable analytics is really emerging to come across a number of categories, which includes the MDM players, the application providers, the device manufacturers themselves, and, you know, other parts of the infrastructure like security players and so on. So we can sit across all of those providers to deliver out the analytics from the mobile ecosystem that enables the total value and true value to be understood.
Got it. So if you were talking to a CIO and they're saying, okay, I think there's mobile security, maybe mobile device management and SDK and mobile platform with APIs and integration, and you come in and say, I'm not specifically in one of those categories, how does that go with the CIO? What does that conversation sound like?
Well, I think my question to them is, so how do you measure and how do you know the return on investment you're getting from your mobile solution?
Okay.
The answer is a variety of things, from, you know, actually I have no idea, to a rather guesswork kind of approach, which cannot be backed up with real data. And so actually being able to get that information, to get the measurements to enable you to make informed decision across your mobile solution, is the key value that we deliver. And in that context, I think they then understand that this is something that takes them on to another level, so that they're moving from a technology implementation into really understanding and being able to represent in their organization real business value and real understanding of ROI.
Got it. So how has your solutions kind of evolved? And let's not go back to 2002, but let's go back, let's say 5 years. How have your solutions evolved with this emergence of the smartphones, iPhones, iPads, etc.?
Okay. Well, firstly, our original solution, and we still very much market this today, but our original solution called Prodigy is a solution for managed service providers, and that includes a mobile device management element with analytics on top of that. We recognized 2 years ago that we needed to provide a product that was MDM agnostic, so can sit on top of any MDM. Okay. And so we now have our big data solution called Oems, which is totally MDM agnostic. So that product can, work alongside any application, any MDM, and across multiple device types. So Windows environments, Android, and so on, we can support. So our original focus and the area where we compete mainly today is in the industrial use of mobility. So where it's absolutely critical to keep devices operational, because the kind of insights we can provide really do enable organizations to achieve that.
Julie, why don't you walk us through some interesting use cases that you've supported?
Okay, so for example, as I've mentioned, let me say that we sell through channel only. So we sell to managed service providers who sell on to end customers. So let me give you an example of some work we did with Scion. So okay. Scion selected our product as their managed service platform, and they have sold solutions into companies like Ferguson, a major plumbing organization in the US, who have used the products to keep their devices fully understood and operational, but also to gain insights to how the devices are being used, where there are serious issues, disruptions occurring at a level much higher than normal, where batteries are not performing effectively, not lasting a shift, all the things that are disrupting how the operation works, where we can provide.
Is this almost like an asset management package specific to industrial mobile devices?
It's that and more. So we can provide that capability, but we are going above that so that we can actually look at the processes that are being enacted and provide real feedback, for example, on users that are logged in, what particular process, be that in the warehouse, be that in the field, what is actually happening, and we can proactively inform where the issues are in that.
So you're more than just a device, you're about a productivity play where you're looking to help companies understand how to improve productivity throughout.
Yeah, and we call that mobile process optimization.
Okay, mobile process optimization. So if I'm building my own apps in my own way, how do I take advantage of your solution then? Where's the integration point?
So we have APIs you can use to integrate where you're passing data in, and we will blend that information with other information we're collecting from across the mobile ecosystem so that you get a total view of what is going on and the things that are affecting the performance of the application and the other networks, anything else that is involved in delivering that total solution.
Wow. So Julie, if I were to buy your solution, I would have no idea where to start. So give me walk me through how that process would look. I buy your solution, I have 1,000 service guys in the field doing mission critical kinds of work. What would we do together?
Okay. So firstly, you would deploy our client onto the devices, which is very straightforward to do, and out of the box we will already be giving you really important feedback on what is going on in the field. In some cases, with LMS, manufacturers such as Motorola are shipping our client on their devices anyway, so it's possible to do that preloaded on the device. But in general, we'll load the client, and you will immediately, through our console, be able to start to see exactly what is happening across your mobile deployment. And I call that the light bulb moment. We find when we're running trials with companies that as soon as you start to show them real data from what's going on across their organization, so they can be sitting at one point in the US and looking at devices on the other side of the world, and when they actually look at the data and get insights to what is going on with those devices, then normally the light bulb goes on and they say, wow, this is just amazing that we can really see this stuff. So at that level, it really is out of the box. If you want to go for a tighter integration and build on the APIs, there's a little bit of integration to do with the applications, and then you're up and running with that level of information as well.
Got it. So what are some of the real insights, those light bulb moments, where where users discover something they just didn't realize before? Can you give us some of the examples that you've experienced or heard about?
Yeah, so there are some basic ones at levels like the fact that the devices, the charging pattern on the devices is not being managed effectively. So users are starting their day taking a device which has not been properly charged, and when they go out on the road, it starts to fail very early in the day, and certainly doesn't last a full shift because those devices haven't been charged. Now, if you don't have that information presented, and we're presenting this information in a very structured way across groups of users, across different types, device types, and so on, and giving all of that feedback. So that's at a basic level. At a higher level, when you look at processes, we have, for example, done work with an airline where you're actually measuring the boarding rates onto the flights. You're actually capturing the information on, how fast passengers are boarding, what other processes, such as excess baggage charges, and underlying networks and so on, are affecting that, so that you can help that organization look at how they can improve that boarding rate, shorten the turnaround time at the gate, which is a fundamental issue for them in terms of improving their bottom line.
Wow, this is, I see this as almost like a sensor platform collecting all this data, which allows you to analyze the actual processes being done in the field so that you can define improvements to those areas, change the way things are done. And if you have large numbers of people, of course, that ROI can be great.
Be huge, yeah. Another area for us, another target, is working directly with the device OEMs. So as I mentioned, we work with Motorola, and they actually are carrying our client on the device, so OEMs can get information that can help them to proactively support their customers, can give them insights into what markets and how the devices are really being used in the field, so can help their product management, and can also help their engineering in situations where they're looking to get the very best value from the componentry on the device, so we can really help them to look at and understand how that's performing in the field.
Wow, so I can see those sensors and the data collected there can probably drive the next innovation round and by telling the engineers what's used, what's not used, what's a problem, what's not a problem. Have you heard of those scenarios?
Yeah, totally. And they get that feedback in real time. So we're not talking, cycles that were 6 months, 9 months to a year to get that information. They are now collecting in real time. It's amazing how that can speed up their innovation cycles.
Wow. So what's the sweet spot for you guys? What kind of companies and workforces?
Okay, so as I say, we work through our partners, so we're definitely working with organisations that are selling into end users who want to get and maximise their value from mobility. And the very best examples are those where if their worker stops working, then their business fails. So they really recognise the importance of this data to really maximise the value from their workforce. That is really our sweet spot.
Wow, so mobile process optimization, you're looking at the way work is done. How do you see, what's the future going to, what's the future going to bring to us all here, and where do you see things going, and what are you doing to align your products with that future, Julie?
Well, I think obviously we see, and we have seen in the last 18 months, 2 years, for example, the growth of bring your own device, BYOD. So in multiple situations like that, the question is that really giving you business value? And the only way, if you can't measure it, you can't know it. So to us, the important thing is let's measure and see what is really going on so you can make informed decisions. And BYOD has been one stage of that. We're going to see more and more as more devices and more operating systems, come onto the market. Clearly, there's, a lot of challenges and questions today around operating systems with Android and Windows embedded and so on. People want feedback to really understand how they can maximize the value. And as things change more frequently, they're going to more and more need that kind of information. And that's where we fit.
Wow, that's interesting. So, Julie, this has just occurred to me. Have you ever looked at data that compares or contrasts the use of smartphones with tablets and how they're used different or the same?
Well, yeah, we certainly can do that, and we have customers. I'm thinking of some customers in healthcare who are using devices in that kind of way and want to get those real measures so they make sure they make the right buying decision. So at that point, and very often we see with organisations who've maybe done first and second generation deployments and now want to move on, getting that information ahead of making the buying decision. So piloting with different devices, different OSs, potentially different applications is a really good way, moves you away from a pure beauty parade into some real data that helps you make proper decisions.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, Julie, I want to thank you so much for taking your evening to share your expertise and knowledge with all of us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Really enjoyed it, Kevin.
Thanks, Julie. Bye-bye.
Thank you.